everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions. If you're new here, thanks for tagging along with me today on my crochet journey. If you visited me before, welcome back. I love hanging out with you guys and discovering new ways to use crochet, and that is what we're going to do today in our tutorial. We're going to work on some wall art, and this project was actually inspired by a room decor channel that I follow. She's called DIY DANIE. She's super fun, and she's always doing like room makeovers and rebuilding things and doing a lot of DIY projects. And she actually had a similar wall hanging in the room that she made over. Now this is a smaller version we're making today, but the idea is the same. And it was this beautiful macrame bag, and it was the size of a large purse, and she had put all these beautiful flowers in it, and she hung it up on the wall. So I thought, maybe I can crochet something out of that. As you can see, it sits beautifully against a very plain white background, or you can hang it up in a window or by a doorway or anywhere you like. So let's talk about the materials we're going to need for our bag. Okay, so for my bag, I really love the idea of using 100% cotton. So I've got one of the sides of the purse already made here, and you can see how lovely that came out. And I love the texture. It's very sturdy. And the thing about cotton is you don't have to worry about what's going to happen to it when you throw it in the wash. Now, the yarn that I'm using is the Bernat Handicrafter cotton yarn. It's 100% cotton. I'm a big fan of 100% cotton when you want something that's durable. And I chose 3 colorways, and a lot of these are actually just leftovers from another project. So we've got our darker color in the center, we've got this peachy color in the second, and then we've got the white around the edge there. Okay, and you can do this in any colorway you want, of course. And in case you're curious, the color, this is the jute color. And this one is called Grapefruit, I believe. And I think this is from one of their scented lines. I love their scented yarn. And then this one is just simply called White. If you choose to do yours all one color, that's great too. You really won't need more than 50 grams. And these usually come in a 50, yeah, this one's 50 grams. Sometimes they come in 42.5 grams. I'm not sure why. But you really won't need more than this. Of course, it depends on the size of your bag. If you choose to use a heavier weight yarn, your purse will sit a little bit bigger. Or if you decide to make your bag a little bigger with more rounds, then of course you will need more yarn. So that's the yarn I'm using. And the hook size I'm going to be using is a 5mm hook, also known as an H or a size 8. Okay, so you'll also need some flowers to put in your flower bag. Now, of course, you can use live flowers if you want and change it out periodically, but I thought I'm going to keep this nice and simple. And I visited my local friendly dollar store and found these really pretty little bunches here. These are about $1.25, $1.50 each. So if you've got like a Dollar Tree or a Dollarama or anything like that in your area, pretty simple to do. So I thought I would pick up these white and yellow just because it screamed spring to me. So I just thought they were really, really pretty. So you want to have that on hand. And of course, you always want to make sure you have a pair of scissors and a darning needle to sew in your ends at the end. So now let's get started. Okay, so as you can see, I've got one side of my bag already constructed. Your bag is going to consist of 2 circles. So I've made one, and then I'm going to make the second one with you guys. So we're starting in the center. We're working up a circle. So if you are new to creating circles, I'll also leave a link in the description box down below on how to crochet a circle, a nice round circle. And it basically talks about the principles of creating a circle, especially if you feel like you want to make your bag a little bit bigger with more rounds. It kind of explains how to continue to create a larger circle. Okay. Now what we're doing here though is we are using the triple crochet in the center. So we're going to use a few different stitches. So it'll stretch you a little bit. If you've never done the triple crochet, it's not that scary. I'll take you through it. We do also have a tutorial on the triple crochet, which I'll also leave in the description box down below. Okay, so we're going to start with a cinch circle in the center and create our first round. Then in round 2, we are going to be using the extended double crochet, which is a slightly longer version than the double, but just shorter than the triple. And then lastly, in our third round, we're just going to go back and use our regular double crochet. So 3 different stitches just to create slightly different length. And then we have our circle. So we're going to start off with our center round, which is the jute color for me. Okay, so we're going to begin with a magic circle to begin. And it looks very similar to a slip knot if you've never used the magic ring method. It looks very similar to a slip knot. You will insert your hook as you normally do and pull a loop through. The difference is you don't want to tighten this circle in. So this might be a little bit awkward at the start. And once you get in there, you want to chain 1. And that at least secures that your circle stays kind of in place. And I just moved that tail out of the way. And that is our cinch circle. Some people call it the magic ring or the magic circle. It's all the same thing. Now, what I'm going to do, because we are using the triple crochet stitch in our first round, I am going to chain up an additional 3. This gives us 4 chains in total, which gives us the height of a triple crochet. Okay, so now we're going to officially work into the circle. So we are going to yarn over 2 times. Normally with a double crochet, we'd only yarn over once, but here we are yarning over 2 times. Once you've yarned over twice, you're then going to insert your hook into your circle and pull up a loop. Now it's really important that you make sure that you keep working over that little tail as well, because that's what we're going to use to cinch our circle shut. So now you have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over. You'll pull through the first 2 loops only, okay? Then you yarn over again. You pull through the next 2 loops. And lastly, you'll yarn over again and pull through the last 2. So we're pulling through 2 loops 3 times, if that makes any sense. So that is one of the reasons why I believe they call it the triple crochet. Again, this is in US terms, by the way. And there you have your first triple crochet made. So this will count as a stitch. So we're going to do that again. You're going to yarn over 2 times, insert your hook into the ring, pull up a loop. 4 loops are on your hook. You'll yarn over again, and now pull through the first 2 only. So that's your first time. There's 3 loops left. Yarn over, pull through the next 2. This is going to be your second time pulling through. Now you have 2 loops left. You're going to yarn over and pull through both of them. And there is your second triple crochet stitch. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to do triple crochets until you have a total of 16 stitches, okay? So remember that chain 4 is going to count as 1. So you will continue to always yarn over twice first, pull up a loop, you'll pull through once, yarn over, pull through twice, and yarn over, pull through 3 times. You're going to keep doing that until you get 16. So in our first circle here, we have 16 stitches in total. So I'll meet back up with you when you've finished your last triple crochet. Okay, and this is my 16th triple crochet. So my work looks something like this. Now what I'm going to do with this tail here, I am going to pull it, and that is what's going to cinch our circle shut, the center of our circle right there. Okay, so that's why it was important that we kind of keep working over it. Now, we are done with this color, so I am going to snip my yarn. But I am not going to chain 1 like a lot of people do when they snip off. I'm actually just going to pull it straight through. And instead of slip stitching, as is the usual. When I work projects like this, I like to do what I call an invisible join. And I'm going to show you I'm going to do that after I grab my yarn needle. Okay, so I've got my yarn needle here, and I'm just going to insert the yarn. And now what I'm going to do, because I really like a seamless looking circle, I'm going to slip stitch into the top, or I'm going to insert my yarn needle into the top of the 4th chain. Okay, now what I do want to do is I want to try my best to actually work through 2 loops just like that. So I've got the back bar right there. So I'm going to work into that. I'm going to insert the hook and pull my yarn through. Whoops, I got myself twisted here. Okay, just like that. And I want to just kind of snuggle it in. I don't want it to be super tight. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in through the top of the last stitch we just did. So I'm going to go in through, as if I'm going through the back loop, I'm going to go in through the top and down through the center of that stitch. So when I pull my yarn through and I snuggle it in a bit, you see, it gives the illusion that that has been stitched with a hook just like the others. And if you've been following me for a little while, you know I really like to use this technique a lot for most projects that I do. So that loop will just look like a regular loop when we work into it. What we do want to do, because most of the stitches you create has a little crossbar here, is once you come through under here, you do want to go back across and pick up that little loop on the side. And that really will give that perfect illusion of being just like a regular stitch. So when you try to work your hook into that stitch, it will have something to kind of hold in there, and it won't create so much of a gap. And then all I'm going to do now is just weave in this end, and I'm just going to go into the stitch next to it just on the bottom there, just to kind of in a very relaxed fashion. I'm going to hide that in there, because again, if you pull too tightly, then it's going to bunch up your work and draw attention to the fact that that is where you joined your beginning and your end. So if I turn that over now, and you were to hold that, you really couldn't tell where the beginning and the end was. And I love that technique. It just makes it look like a perfect circle. So finish weaving that in, and then we will go on to a round 2 with a brand new color. Okay, so on the back, what I did is I took my tail and where I cinched, and I knotted those 2 together. So that way they're really nice and secure. So, okay, so a couple of things are going to change here. We are now going to work an extended double crochet, and we're actually going to work in between our stitch posts. Okay, so remember that is the post. If you've ever checked out my quick little lesson on identifying parts of your stitch, we talk about what the post is and what the loops are to the stitches. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to leave a link for it in the description box down below. I know many of you have commented on how useful you have found it, so I'm very happy to have made it, and I will make sure that you can check it out in the link below. So what we're doing is we're working in between the post here, and you're just going to find any space that you like. So I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to insert my hook here. I'm going to hook my yarn into that. So I'm not using a slip knot this time, and it's just kind of something I felt like doing. Okay, but you can certainly put a slip knot on your hook. Whoops. And you're going to feed that through just like that. So for now, this tail is sitting here. Now what I like to do when I do this method, like this, is I just take that tail and I flip it across. So now as I chain, it's going to get trapped in here. So now I'm just going to loosely chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now normally you would chain 3 for a regular double crochet, but I want you to notice how loosely I did it. I really didn't want to chain 4 because that's going to give me more of the height of a triple crochet, and an extended double is just not quite as tall. So there we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to work again back into that space. So you're going to yarn over like you would for a regular double crochet. You're going to insert your hook into that space, and I'm holding that tail down because I want to work over it. I'm going to pull up a loop like I normally do. So I have 3 loops on the hook. Now I'm going to yarn over, but this time I'm only going to pull through the first loop only. Now I have 3 loops left on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through the next 2. That now leaves me with 2 loops on my hook, and I'll yarn over and pull through the final 2. Okay, so that is what an extended double crochet looks like. Okay, and that is what we're going to do all the way around, and we're going to work into every single space between your stitches. Okay, so I'll do that again. Yarn over into the next space. We're going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll yarn over again and only pull through the first loop. Then you'll yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the next 2, sorry. So you're pulling over 3 times, but you're really only pulling over 1 loop at the beginning. Okay, so if we do that again, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 1 loop only, then pull through 2 and pull through 2. So this is actually what we call an increase. Anytime you put more stitches into a space than is naturally allotted, that's an increase. So we're placing 2 stitches into each stitch space, okay? And that is what we're going to do in every single space. 2 extended double crochets, 2 extended, 2 extended, so in between every single space. So our first round had 16 stitches. If we're placing 2 stitches in between each post, you should end up now with 32 stitches at the end of round 2, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and finish your round 2, and I will meet back up with you once you have completed your round. Okay, round 2 is complete, and I just snipped my yarn, and I'm going to be using the same technique to close up my circle, and I do have 32 stitches. So I just wanted to come back on here real quick and make sure that you have 32 stitches, okay? And that does include that chain 3 at the top. So I'm going to quickly sew this up and meet up with you for round 3. Okay, so our final round, and we're going to introduce our white color here. And this time we are now going to work with double crochet stitches. So we've gone from a tall stitch, a taller stitch, to just a medium sized stitch. And the other thing we're going to do is we're actually going to work into the stitches. So we were working between the posts. Now we're going to work into the stitches. So again, I'm just going to find a spot that I like, and I'm going to insert my hook right there. And I'm going to do the same thing I did previously. I'm just going to pull my yarn through just like that. I'm going to throw that tail over. And now I'm going to chain 3. And I don't want to chain them too loosely because I do want to maintain the integrity of the double crochet height. So I'm no longer trying to work with an extra long stitch. So there we have it. So that chain 3 will count as a stitch. And now what I'm going to do is I am actually going to go back into that same stitch, and I am going to place just 1 double crochet. So see how I'm going to work into the stitch? Right into there. And again, I'm going to work over that tail. And so I'm going to pull through 2 and pull through 2. So this should be a little bit more familiar to you. Okay, so my chain 3 there definitely is going to count as a stitch. And now my double crochet is complete. So what I'm going to do in the next stitch is I'm going to place 1 double crochet. Okay, still working over that tail. Pull through 2 and pull through 2. Then into the following stitch, I'm going to place 2 double crochets again. So in this round, we are increasing in every second stitch. We're going to yarn over into the next stitch. Whoops, That's 1 double crochet, and there's 2 double crochets. Okay, into the next stitch, I'm only going to place 1 double crochet. Again, I'm just working over that tail. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to work 2 double crochets. So hopefully you can see the pattern that we're working with here. So here's the second one. And that is what you're going to continue doing all the way around. Okay, so you're going to go 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around. So at the end of round 3, you should end up with 48 stitches. Okay, so press pause on the video now. You're going to finish the 3rd round, join your round, weave in your end, and I'll meet back up with you when we're ready to actually put our bag together. Okay, so I have my 2 circles now. So make sure when you finished one, you want to do a second one exactly the same way. Okay, so I now have my 2 circles here. And so what we're going to do is make sure you know which side is the right side. Okay, so those 2 are my back sides. So what we're going to do is we're now going to place one on top of the other with the back sides facing each other. Okay, we just want to make sure that we're able to line up a couple of these stitches nicely. And all you need to do is just make sure a couple of them line up, because once we start stitching, they will all fall into place nicely. So what you want to do is maybe take a safety pin and just find a spot, any old spot, and you're going to insert that pin through the top of one stitch in the front circle. You want to match it up with a stitch in the back circle there, right about there. And so we'll use this as our starting point of connection, or end point actually. Now what we want to do is we want to count 14 stitches over, and we're going to start at the pin stitch until we get to 14 stitches on the other side. Okay, so I am going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another pin into the 15th stitch. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and into the 15th stitch, I'm going to place the other pin. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to count exactly the same number of stitches on the back one, and then I'm going to attach these 2 together. And I'm just making sure I count them individually so that they do perfectly line up, because sometimes visually we can make a little mistake when they're too close together like that. Okay, and that is my 15th one on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hold it spot here for a second with the other pin. Now what we've done is we have marked where the opening of our bag is going to be, or mini purse as I call it. And so the reason why I'm not closing this off is because in a millisecond, I'm going to take it out to put my hook through. So I'm just going to lay it down like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my jute yarn back, and I am going to create a slip knot and place it on my hook here. Okay, and now I'm going to pick up that circle here, and I'm going to just take that pin out, and right away I'm going to insert my hook into the front circle and into the back circle right away. Now I know I'll be good to go. So because I counted these properly from this pin to this pin, the rest of the stitches should match up beautifully, because remember, we made sure we had 48 stitches in total for each circle. So once you've got your hook in there, what you want to do is you want to pull your loop through and slip stitch to secure your yarn into that space there, just like that. Okay, Now you can either work over your yarn or you can just stick it inside your bag here just because it's not really going to be a big deal, but I am going to work over my yarn because it'll save me from sewing it in later. Okay, so now all we're going to do is we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to go back into that same stitch and we're going to place a single crochet. Now remember, you've got to go in through the front circle as well as the back circle. And then pull up that loop, not too tightly, and then pull through like a regular single crochet stitch. And so what we're going to do all the way around until we get to that other pin is we're going to place 1 single crochet through both the front and the back circle. And this is going to basically seam our 2 sides together. So you're going to insert through the front. Whoops. Make sure you get both of those loops. I'm trying to work over this tail. And then we're going to insert through the back. And always make sure you're lining up your stitches nicely. It's very easy in this process to like skip one from one side and be off center or off your count. So just be careful with that. And it may happen. So you just have to go back and undo everything. Unfortunately, if you want it to look nice and even, you will have to do that and then start over. So I'm just doing a few here so you can see what we're going for here. So just like that, okay? So easy peasy, 1 single crochet all the way until you get to that pin. So pause the video here, take your time, pack your patience, and before you know it, unpause and I'll meet you back here shortly. Okay, so I have come around and I have come to my stitch marker here. So I can just take that out because I'm not going to go into that one. And so your bag is now looking like this. So you've got this beautiful little trim, very nice and simple, just like that. And now your bag is sewn together and it looks the same on the back as it does on the front, except for the fact that your single crochets will just look slightly different on the back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a hanging loop or the strap of our bag or our purse. So we're going to insert our hook back in here. And what we're going to do is we're simply going to chain up 40 chains. So now what we're going to do is we're simply going to chain up 50 chains. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2. Okay, so once you have your 50 chains, you're going to have a long chain that looks like this. Now you just want to make sure that it is not too twisted here, that it's sitting nice and flat. And now what we want to do is we are going to slip stitch into the top of the very first single crochet that we created. So this is now going to attach our strap to our bag. Okay, just like that. So now you have your bag and it has a strap, and that's what we're going to hang it by. Now, if you are very happy with a super simplistic, cute little boho look, very simple, you can actually just fasten off and leave it here. But I'm actually going to add another sweet little trim to it. So if you're interested in doing that, stick along for what's coming up next, okay? So I'm going to continue on. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to chain up 3, 2, and 3. Then we're going to skip the next stitch, and into the following stitch, we're going to slip stitch. Just like that. So see, it creates a little loop there. Then we're going to repeat that. Chain 1, 2, 3, skip a stitch, and into the following stitch, you're going to slip stitch. So pull it all the way through. And again, 1, 2, 3, skip a stitch, and into the following stitch, you will slip stitch. Oops. Okay, so just want to show you. See, creates that really cute little lacy loops there. And that's what you're going to do all the way around here. Now, the thing is, if you have an even number of stitches, if you counted correctly, you're going to have an even number of stitches. So that means you're most likely going to have 2 stitches or 3 stitches left, I should say. So that means you're going to have that 1 stitch here. So just go ahead and do the usual chain 3, skip 1, and slip stitch. You're most likely going to end up with this last one still free. So go ahead and do that all the way around, and I'm going to meet back up with you when you're on the very last stitch before your strap. Okay, so I have come up to the very last stitch before the one that starts the strap. And this is what the trim looks like. I just love that. It's just so sweet, very boho-like. Love it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to continue over our strap just to kind of fortify it as the final touch. So if you've got that last little stitch left here, what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into that one. Okay, and now we've got our strap here. Now what we're going to do is instead of going in through the top of the chains like we normally do, I'm going to just turn the underside up so that we can see these back bumps, okay? And we are just going to work a single crochet into each of those bumps. So I'm just going to turn that over there and see that's the very first bump we have. So we're just going to help that along. Insert your hook and pull up a loop and single crochet. It's going to feel a little wonky at the beginning because your bag is just hanging there. Okay, and now we'll go into the next back bump, which is right there, and you're going to have to help these through. Okay, so you're going to help it in through here and then pull up a loop. So the bumps in the beginning might be a little bit tighter than normal, or tighter than what you're used to, I should say. Okay, so just you're going to have to take your time. See, there's the next bump there. So you're just going to help it through. There we go. So it's starting to relax into the feel of being into the back bumps. It's just because that chain initially is getting a little bit twisted, so it doesn't like that. There's the next bump there. We're helping that through. And single crochet. So I'm going to do one more. There's the next back bump. Right there. Okay. So just pull that out so you can see. So by doing that, what it does is it makes this transition from the trim, the edge trim here, into the strap just really natural. And it just gives both sides a nice finished look. So you can see that side has the V's at the top, and this side also has the V's at the top or the bottom. So that is the last thing you're going to do. So you're going to do that into every single chain, back bump, and I'll meet up with you just when you're at the very end to finish off our bag. Love this. Okay, I'll meet you guys back here shortly. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the very last bump I'm working into, and I just wanted to show you guys something because the very last bump is going to be a bit tight. So what I do sometimes is when I come across situations like that, I take my darning needle and I push it through so that it loosens up the stitch, okay? I feed it out through there. So this is where this last one can be a little bit tricky, but you got to really hang in there. There we go. And then finish your last stitch. And you want to try your best to do that because it will make it much more uniform with your other side here. So now we're actually done. And I will sew this in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip my yarn. Just not too much of a tail, okay? And right wherever I am, I'm just going to pull that right through. Okay, so for now, your bag is looking something like this. I just love this. And as I said before, you can actually make this into a life-size purse if you want, because I think it would look just as adorable. You would just simply use more rounds, and maybe you can even put a zipper at the top. I think it'd be really, really cute. Make the strap a bit longer and do it as a crossbody bag. I think that would work super, super cool. So let's just see how this is just hanging out here. We want it to look uniform just like this one. So you're going to pick up that yarn needle again, and you're going to feed it through here. And then what we want to do is we just want to go under where that very first single crochet we did when we're doing the loops. We just kind of want to find the loop underneath there, and you can pick up a second loop too if you want. And just feed that yarn through, just nice and gentle. We don't want it to be super tight because we want it to look nice and uniform. Okay, so you've got something that looks like that. And now I'm going to go into this next loop beside it, right there. And then I'm going to catch that single crochet right there. And I'm going to go in through the top, and I'm going to pull up the yarn. And again, I'm not going to snuggle it too tight because remember, I want it to look like it's continuing, just like that. Beautiful. And then now I'm going to go back in and pick up another loop down here, just so that it sits nice and uniform. And again, not too tight. I want it to look like it just naturally flows there. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of weave this in and out back and forth just to hide this end here. So I'm going to kind of weave it in under those single crochets, and I'll just do that back and forth 3 times, and that should lock your weave in. And any excess, all you do is snip it off and you are done. Okay, our bag is done. I really, really love how this turned out. Just absolutely adorable. And you'll notice actually that there's going to be a little bit of a twist. So you see with your strap, if you follow it like that, see how there's a little bit of a twist? That's actually perfect for hanging it, right? Because if it was perfectly straight, like flat, then it might bunch up here. So this way, when you hang it, see, it just sits nice and easy. So your twist will generally happen around here, and then it just sits really, you won't even be able to tell. Now, the final touch, okay? So you can actually put anything in this bag. You can simply leave it empty if you like it on its own as a piece of wall art, a nice piece of fiber wall art. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your flowers here, whoops, your fake flowers, and you're going to snip them off. Now you can use scissors, but I actually like to get a handy pair of pliers here, and it just makes it really quick to snip this off. So I've already cut a few of these here, the white ones, and I'm going to just cut another one, maybe another 2 off of these yellow little mini roses here. So you're just going to grab your flowers and, you know, be cognizant of the size that you want, right? So I know I kind of want to poke out a little bit. So this one I'm going to sit in the back. So I'm going to snip this one right here and just like that. That's why pliers are really handy, because they just one and done. With scissors, you're going to have to kind of work your way through a little bit. So I'll just show you how I'm doing mine here. So I'm just taking my little fake flowers here, and I'm just basically inserting it into the bag, just like that. And you're going to make the arrangement however you see fit. Generally, you kind of like want them to be somewhat symmetrical. I mean, that's the general rule of arranging things, but at the end of the day, you do you. Okay, so I'm putting all my white ones in here first, making sure that I like which way they face. Okay. And the beautiful thing about this crochet bag is if you need them to kind of poke in there to stick, to stay still, allow them to poke out the back because they're going to be against a wall or window or whatever, and no one's going to see it. So it's going to be really, really great. And I like the idea of making it look like it's just bursting out here with flowers. Okay, so now I've got my yellow ones here, and most of them are the same size, except these two are taller. So I'm going to place one here on the side, another one in here, nestle it in. And now my taller ones, I think I'm going to put in the back there, like that. Oops. You can see that that one's poking out the front, so I just want to make sure. Fix that. And the great thing about these flowers is you can bend them, maybe, to your will. And so you can see, yeah, you've got a couple sticking out the back, and that's no problemo. Okay, so there we have it, and there's the strap. So this is why I really want you to make sure, whatever the length of strap you choose, that you're going to have a nice gap there. I mean, you can continue to fill flowers up to the top, for example, but I don't know, I just find it's going to look too busy. And there you are, your flower bag wall hanging. And you can place this anywhere. Like I like to place mine in front of the window, especially once that tree starts to bloom in front of my window. I always love having stuff there. Either I have the all around wreath there, or I have my medallions, my little bronze medallions that sometimes I hang there. I just think it's absolutely a sweet little embellishment. It just always puts me in a good mood. You can place this on a wall, anywhere, in fact, or you know what? You could even hang this on a doorknob, which I think would look super sweet, maybe in a powder room or something like that, or in a kid's bedroom, on the corner of a chair, if you've got like the traditional country style chairs. I mean, all kinds of things on the edge of a crib. I mean, you can really go to town with this idea. So I hope you've had fun working on this. I think this was one of my, so far this year, I think one of my sweetest projects, and I'm so happy to share it with you. And if there's any thing that you still were unclear of, you have any questions, please do leave me a comment in the comment box down below, or pop me an email directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. And a bunch of you have, and I love it. I love interacting with you. And I'm always very happy to help clarify anything you guys need. As always, you can find a lot of the written patterns I've got on our website at crochetcrafty.com. And we've also got some more intricate patterns on our Etsy shop, which is Crochet Crafty Canada. But you'll find all that info on our website, and you can say hi to me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at The Stitch Sessions. Now, if you really liked a project like this, please do give me a thumbs up, and then I'll know that you like more of these projects, and I'll make more of them, okay? And also, if you're new here, I invite you to press that subscribe button, and that way you can stay up to date every time we hang out, which is every Wednesday morning with a brand new tutorial. And make sure you click that notification bell so that you get notified. All right, enough jibber jabber. I hope that you have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Have fun with this project. Let me see how yours turned out. I'm really curious to see the colorways you choose. And I look forward to seeing you in the very next session. Take care, guys.